going to turn it over to Marcy Ash, and she is all the way from Columbus, and she is going to be facilitating the HomeStyle Renovator portion today.
I have this one. Good morning again. I'm so glad you guys are here. It's St. Patrick's Day every day at Huntington. So the green is definitely easy to do decorations with. My name is Marcy Ash. As Carla said, I came from Columbus, Ohio. Don't throw anything at me, please. I have been with Huntington for 14 years. I have been in the mortgage industry for 22 years. I do our product training for our loan officers, processors, underwriters, and closers. And then I'm also certified in Michigan and Ohio to do Con Ed for our partners, you guys, our realtors. One of the reasons why I love doing this is because I love helping borrowers, but I'm not face-to-face with borrowers. So the way that I help borrowers is through our loan officers, training them on our products, and then also through training you guys on, today, the HomeStyle Renovation, and then Eric Dusenberry from MSHDA will do some training with you on MSHDA. How many of you are familiar with HomeStyle Renovation? Couple? Yeah. How many of you have homes either now or historically that have just been sitting on the market because they need some repairs or upgrades? Yeah, need a little bit of help. You're going to love this product. I know I do. I know that a lot of our realtors who leave my Con Ed classes are excited about the product because of the potential that it offers. I don't know where I'm going to stand to see. That's big. All right. So some borrowers by numbers. 57 million Americans, or 18% of the population, live in a multi-generational family household. So children living with parents, parents getting older, needing help, living home with their children again. What does that mean? That means they need more space. That is a 100% increase from 1980. That's big. A typical home built in 1993 is 1,870 square feet with 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. There's a lot of homes that are built in 1993. Current buyers expect to live in a home for 12 years. In 2007, the expectation was only 6 years. First-time home buyers represent 33% of the market. That's the lowest level since 1989, but that's because of our millennials. So millennials are waiting longer to buy homes. They're waiting longer to get married. They're waiting longer to have children. But they do want those things. They're just waiting a little bit longer. What is important to potential buyers when you're taking them out to look at homes? What are they looking for? Some of the things is quality of the neighborhood, right? Convenience to their job, the overall affordability of the home. Convenient to friends and family. For us women, convenient to shopping. Quality of school district and the design of the neighborhood. To have a borrower find all of those things and a perfect home, that's hard to do. So you can be your buyer's hero and help them stop stressing over finding the perfect home. Talk to them about the HomeStyle Renovation product, and when we get done, you're going to know the ins and outs. You're going to have all the material you need to educate, remind yourself what we talked about today. Be their Superman or their Wonder Woman. They can find the perfect location of the home with all of those things that they want, but it might not be the perfect home. But we can help them make it the perfect home. The HomeStyle Renovation is a conventional fixed-rate mortgage that enables a borrower to purchase the home and finance the repairs, either purchasing or refinancing, the repairs and the upgrades up to 50% of the as-completed value. The maximum loan-to-value on this is 95%. The HomeStyle Renovation Program is an all-inclusive first mortgage, so instead of the borrower assuming a second mortgage, home equity, line of credit, they can finance the repairs or the upgrades into the first mortgage, and they don't have to have a second or a HELOC. Eligible borrowers include individual home buyers, investors, so this is for investment properties as well, nonprofit organizations, and local government agencies. Also, borrowers will make their full PITI payments, so their payments will start just like a normal loan would. So when they close, it'll be March, their first payment would begin in May, just like a normal loan. So there's not like a construction loan. They pay interest only for a certain portion and so forth. It's just PITI right from the get-go. So what types of repairs and upgrades are allowed with the HomeStyle renovation? Just about anything. Upgrading a water heater, installing an in-ground pool or fence, replacing carpet, hardwood floors, finishing a basement, making a man cave. Mold damage and radon mitigation is allowed on the HomeStyle renovation as well. Kitchen remodels, bathroom remodels, deck additions, landscaping, siding, paint. They can add a detached or attached garage. Basically, as long as it adds value and it's permanently affixed to the property, they can do it. And when I say property, that's not just the house. So as you see, it's the property itself. So privacy fence, those types of things are allowed as well. So that's really the two caveats. Does it add value, and is it permanently affixed? The only thing that's not allowed is the completion of construction projects. So if a seller started to tear down a wall or redo repairs or whatever the case might be, or they hired a contractor to do some work and the contractor walked off the job, or the borrower or the seller ran out of money and couldn't finish the job, we can't pick up at that point, so we can't have any free starts in order to use this product. So some things, kitchen remodels. How many of you have had buyers who love the home, love the location, the floor plan, the school district, but the kitchen needs upgraded, and they don't have $20,000 set aside to put into the kitchen, so they walk away from the home? Yes? Yeah. This is the perfect type of product for that type of a borrower. They can finance that $20,000 into the purchase of the home and get their kitchen upgraded right after closing. Bathroom remodels, we all love the 1970s turquoise tile, or peach or blue or whatever was popular at that point. Deck additions, we all know what a deck can do to a home, not only visually, but as a family. So somebody who has a family, that they want to put their table and their chairs and their barbecue outside on the deck and watch their kids play on the swing set. Decks are huge. Decks make a big difference. Landscaping. So this is a great product, and we use it a lot for foreclosed homes. So if they're missing pipes, they're missing cabinets. If the outside was let go, we can finance all of those types of things into the purchase of the property, and the borrower doesn't have to worry about doing it on their own. Siding, roof. I had mentioned that investors can use this product, so it's for investment properties as well. So maybe it's an investor who's purchasing a home, or they want to refinance a rental property that they already have. They can finance those repairs or upgrades into the purchase of the home. Not a lot of investment financing out there that's available, especially when it comes to renovations. So how does it work? Borrowers can finance up to 50% of the as-completed value. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into this a little bit more. It cannot exceed the maximum loan to value. So for a 1-unit single family, it's 95%. And it must include a 10% contingency reserve. The 10% contingency reserve is 10% of the renovation amount. And it is an extra set of funds that's set aside in the escrow account to cover any unforeseen costs that might come up with that renovation. How many of you watch HGTV? I watched Property Brothers over the weekend. Yeah. And almost every single house that they did, the renovation costed more than what they budgeted for. That's where the contingency reserve comes into place. So your borrower is not having to come up with extra money out of their pocket. We already have 10% set aside for them. If one of the differences with the contingency reserve is if your borrower finances that 10%, then at the end of when the project is done at the end, if there's any money that's left in the escrow account, then Huntington will automatically apply it as a principal reduction. If they paid it in cash, so if your borrower had a couple thousand extra or whatever it is, and they brought it to closing, they paid it in cash. If there's any money that's left at the end of the project, the borrower can either choose to have it applied as a principal reduction, or they can get that money back up to whatever that amount was that they brought to closing. So that's the difference between the two. The minimum renovation amount is $5,000. Maximum renovation amount is $250,000. So what do all these numbers and percentages and all that good stuff mean? We'll talk about that. So we'll say we have a purchase price of $100,000. Our as completed value came back from the appraiser for $150,000. Bless you. You take your as completed value, multiply it by your loan to value. So we're going to use the full 95% on this example. So our maximum loan amount, is $142,500. Take your maximum loan amount, subtract your purchase price of $100,000. That's the allowable repair amount on this example. Okay? Yes.
Is that based on appraisal for your as completed?
Yes.
Yeah.
So another example, this home was listed and it sold for $128,000. The average value of a 3-bedroom single-family residence in this area was $186,587. I believe this was a foreclosed home. It needed new flooring, countertops, new black backsplash, and new cabinets. So whole new kitchen upgrade. Our borrowers, Kobe and Vanessa Bryant. Kobe got hurt. Lakers aren't doing very well. They're going to have to downgrade. Vanessa's not very happy. So they're putting 5% down. Purchase price, we said, was $128,000. The plans and specs from the contractors came back with the flooring at $1,000, the countertops and backsplash at $2,800, and the cabinets at $5,000. So we would like a total remodel cost of $8,800. Well, how do we know if we have enough wiggle room? The as completed value came back at $148,000. So take our $148,000, multiply it by our loan to value, which is 95%. Maximum loan to value is $146,600. Minus your sales price of $128,000, the allowable amount is $12,600. So do they have enough? Yeah. Because we said it was $8,800 for the kitchen remodel. They actually have a little bit of wiggle room that they could do a little something extra if they wanted to. So the as completed value piece. The appraiser will estimate the as completed value of the home. They will take the plans and the specs from the contractor or contractors, and they'll look at the current market data, so the comps in the area. If the borrower is not doing anything too out of the box for the comps that are in the area, we typically don't have a problem with appraisals that come back. So that's going to be an important thing is, if the comps don't have a swimming pool and 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms and whatever else that they're wanting to add, then that appraisal is not going to come back to support that. So it can't be over improved for the area. Does that make sense? Okay. As I said, the contractor has to provide itemized plans and specs to say what they're doing. So it'll need a full description of the work to be completed, the time frame, so an approximate start and end date, and then a detailed cost breakdown so that the cost of the renovation can be evaluated. Also, the work must be performed by a registered, licensed, or certified contractor, because we want to make sure that it's not, and Danny wants to make sure that it's not the brother-in-law that just does it on the side and we run into problems, and they have to be certified, licensed, or registered contractors. Okay?
Excuse me,
Yes.
do you supply a list of the contractors?
We do not, because we don't want to endorse anybody. But your buyer, our borrowers can ask us, hey, is ABC contractor on your list? You know, if it's a general, we do general contractors and then regular contractors. General contractors we have a list of. Just regular contractors, we don't. But if it's a general contractor, they can ask, is ABC contractor on your list? And then we can say yes or no. But we can't tell them who is and who isn't.
So they have to be approved by you.
If it's a general contractor, and we'll get to that piece of when they need to use a general contractor. The loan amount or the scope of work cannot be changed or modified at closing because the appraisal is already done. So after closing, borrowers can't say, oh, no, I didn't want Formica, I wanted marble. Well, that's going to affect the appraisal, so we can't change that. If the repairs affect the livability of the property, then the repairs must be completed within 60 days of closing. So if it's a foreclosed home and it is missing pipes or whatever the case might be, those types of things have to be done first. If there's mold in the home, that has to be done first within 60 days so that they can move in. If the repairs do not affect the livability of the property, then they have 12 months to get that work done. Big question, can the borrower do their own work? Yes, but there are some guidelines around that. So the borrower has to also be a registered, licensed, or certified contractor in that field of work. And they can only do up to 10% of the as-completed value. So they can't do the full scope of work if it exceeds 10%. Also, they can only do it on one-unit owner-occupied homes. And the borrower cannot be reimbursed for sweat equity, but they can be reimbursed for the cost of materials and any properly documented contract labor. So this is where the guideline comes into place with the general contractor. If they are using more than 3 contracts, or the work is $100,000 more or more in repairs, at that point they have to get a general contractor. If it's more than 3 contracts or the work is more than $100,000 or more in repairs or upgrades, then that job is becoming too big for a borrower to oversee and supervise. So at that point, a general contractor is needed. So for example, if a borrower has a contract to replace windows, one to replace kitchen cabinets, one to add a deck, and one to replace siding, we now have 4 contracts, we need a general contractor. The other example, there's only 2 contracts, but there's $50,000 for a pool and $60,000 in landscaping. We're exceeding $100,000, so we need a general contractor. General contractors do have to be accepted by Huntington's Construction Lending Department, just like a builder. So we want to make sure that they are credible. So they have to go through our construction lending department and get accepted. And at that point, they go on our accepted list once they're approved. Homebuyer education. When all borrowers on a loan are relying solely on non-traditional credit, one of those borrowers has to attend homebuyer education. And that can be either face-to-face, online, or telephone counseling. It doesn't have to be an 8-hour class on a Saturday. And the counseling must be provided by a third party that is independent of the lender, so independent of Huntington. The face-to-face counseling is always the best route for homebuyer education, but for the HomeStyle renovation, it's not mandatory. We just want to make sure that they have some type of homebuyer ed. In your folders, you'll see this sheet. It's the Fannie Mae HomeStyle Renovation Consumer Tips. If you want to pull that out and take a look at it, this is one of the only additional forms besides the typical application documents that your borrower will need to sign. We want to make sure that we're educating the borrowers up front and the whole way through. So it gives them some things that they're going to need to know, some other resources that they can take a look at. But this will be one of the only other forms that they'll need to sign and will have to submit to underwriting. The draws in the contingency reserve. The renovation funds, including that 10% contingency reserve, is placed in an interest-bearing escrow account paid at Huntington's standard DDA rate. 4 draws can be requested with a 5th disbursement to empty out any of the unused funds that are in the account. Funds cannot be advanced to pay for deposits or to purchase material. So Huntington is not going to front money at closing to give to a contractor for a deposit or to purchase material. Why would we do that? Why would we not do that? How many times have you heard of contractors walking off of a job? That never happens, no. We don't want to give them money to walk off with. So the contractor will have to have enough in their own reserve to purchase the materials. Then when the job is done and the inspector goes out and says, check, 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 it's finished, we will do a draw and then we pay them. So we want to make sure that our borrower is protected as well. And typically, if a contractor knows that they have to finish the job to get paid, they're going to finish the job. Not all lenders can offer the HomeStyle renovation product. Lenders must meet special Fannie Mae lender requirements in order to be approved to offer the product. Huntington, from what I'm aware of, is the only lender in the area that offers this product. We are very focused on the product. We are very serious about offering this product. I have trained and have certified processors, underwriters, and closers. So when the loan officer submits the file, it goes to one of my HomeStyle renovation team processors, underwriters, and then closers. We also have our construction lending department, our administrators. So when the file goes from processing to closing, our construction lending department is made aware, and then at that time, an administrator is assigned to that file. So your borrower isn't calling an 800 number and getting someone from Hong Kong or India. They get a direct line to their administrator who will then help them the rest of the way. So after closing, they work with that construction lending administrator until their project is done. Some underwriting guidelines: minimum credit score of 620, maximum loan amount is $417,000. The minimum credit score on an investment property is 680. And then I had said the loan to value for a 1-unit single-family residence is 95%. The max LTV will be based on the type of property. So for an investment property, the max loan to value is 85%. Also, approved community seconds can be used with this product. Welcome Home Grant, if you guys are familiar with that. City grants, employee assistance, they can get seller concessions, gift funds. Any of those types of items can be used with the HomeStyle renovation.
Mercy,
Yes.
the 95%, does that include the contingency?
Yes.
So, okay.
Yep. So what happens after closing?
We're
First thing, after we close, the contractor begins the work, and they request their draws as the items are completed. So unlike a construction loan, they're paid in increments of the project. On the HomeStyle renovation, the project has to be completed. The inspections are performed to confirm the work's done. We will issue a two-party check made out to the borrower and the contractor. So we want to make sure that your borrowers have a comfort level that they have control every step of the way. So if the contractor didn't do what they were supposed to do, this check is made out to both of them. It doesn't go directly to the contractor themselves. Once construction is completed, the final inspection is done. A completion cert is signed by the borrower, the contractor, and the appraiser. And then any remaining funds are applied, as I said, either as a principal reduction or if the borrower paid it in cash and they want to get that money back, they have that option. Also in your folder is the welcome kit. This little packet is what will be sent to the borrower after closing, along with a welcome letter from that construction lending administrator that I was talking about. And it'll have their information on it. They'll introduce themselves. But these are going to be all the forms that the borrower is going to need along the way. So that completion cert, the draw funds disbursement form, and the administrator will explain to the borrower what those forms are and when they need to use them and how to fill them out and so forth. So an actual purchase transaction using the HomeStyle renovation product. This one was in Pennsylvania. The purchase price was $62,500, and the as-completed value came back at $92,243. Who can tell me what they see here? Just in those first two things. How about immediate equity? Yeah. That's one of the great things, too, about the HomeStyle renovation is most of the time they are going to get immediate equity in that home. The renovation specs, this was done by a general contractor. So he had windows at $3,500, the glass window block in the basement that I will show you for $2,500. He replaced all the flooring for $6,400, door for $500, cleanup $400, and the kitchen cabinets and countertops for $6,700 for a total renovation cost of $20,000. This is the before and after, so you can see on the left is the before, and on the right you can see he actually moved the stove to the middle and added some more cabinets, replaced the flooring, countertop. This was one of the bedrooms where you can see the hardwood floor is scratched. It's a mess, so they just added carpet instead of redoing the floors. Same thing with the steps that went upstairs. This is the glass block window that I had told you about that he replaced, the door that went from the basement to the outside, and a new window. Big question that I get a lot is, what is the difference between a HomeStyle renovation and an FHA 203K? Has anybody had experience with a 203K? Some, yes. Was it fun? No. The HomeStyle renovation is just, it's a lot easier to use, and there's a lot less restrictions than an FHA loan. So some of the differences, investment properties are allowed with the HomeStyle renovation, but they're not allowed with the 203K. Cosmetic upgrades are allowed, but not with the 203K. Luxury items are allowed, but not with the 203K. They both allow room additions, square footage additions, and it's for purchases and refis. The down payment is different. So for an FHA, it's 3.5%. For the HomeStyle renovation, it's going to depend on the type of property. Remember, I had said the different loan to value, the max loan to values depends on the property. That's where that comes into play. Max LTV is 95 on the conventional and 96.5 on the FHA. Two big differences is the maximum loan amount. So for conventional loan, it's $417,000. For an FHA 2 or 3K, the max loan amount is $271.50. Big difference. Also, the mortgage insurance. So on the HomeStyle Renovation, they only need mortgage insurance if the loan to value is above 80%. And then eventually it will fall off. With the 2 or 3K, they need mortgage insurance.
Forever.
It's an FHA, so you'll always need mortgage insurance. Yep. Some benefits of the HomeStyle Renovation Loan for borrowers. Some families can be in a better school district by purchasing a less expensive home, finance their improvements, and as we've seen before, receive immediate equity in their home. Growing families who need more space can add a room or square footage. Couples who can only afford an older home that requires upgrades or repairs. Families who want to purchase a home with acreage and add an in-ground pool or deck. The acreage, the maximum acreage on this is 10 acres, so still quite a bit. Families who need to remodel to give their loved one handicapped access. So maybe it is an elderly parent that's going to move in and they need handicapped access. You can use this product for those types of upgrades as well. And real estate investors who purchase a fixer-upper who might not have the time or skill to complete the renovation themselves. For you, our realtors, it's a great tool to move those homes that have been sitting on your market that need some upgrades or repairs, maybe a little TLC. It gives you a resource for borrowers who love the location, except the kitchen, the bathroom, whatever it is. You're able to offer a financing source for real estate investors looking to purchase rental property. And more sales, more referrals, and more commission dollars. Who doesn't know that, right? Not doing their own work, up to what percent of the as-completed value can the borrower finance the repairs or upgrades? 50, right. What's the maximum loan to value for a one-unit single-family residence? 95. What type of repairs or upgrades are not allowed? Why a freestanding shed?
Is that affixed?
Yes, it's not permanently affixed. Right.
So doesn't it upgrade the property?
But it has to add value and be permanently affixed to the property.
They could take it with them.
Yeah. If they can take it with them, or it can, yes, then they can't do it. The 10% contingency reserve is based off of the what? Renovation amount. Yep. So if a renovation amount is $20,000, they'll need $2,000 for their contingency reserve. What? Oh, I just gave it to you. Minimum renovation amount is $5,000. What is the maximum renovation amount? $250,000. Yep. $250,000. What's the minimum credit score for a borrower who is purchasing or refinancing an investment property? 60. You guys are good. Pay attention. All right. Questions?
So if the shed couldn't be moved?
If the shed could not be moved, then it would be okay. Yes. Just like a detached garage,
Right.
same kind of a concept.
Freestanding could be a freestanding, non-removable shed.
Well, if it can't be moved, then it's okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Where do you get your appraisers?
We have the Huntington appraisers.
So you have your own
Same
in-house
ones,
appraisers?
It's the same as any of the other homes that we do, and there's no additional appraisal.
Okay. If the appraisal doesn't come in where you want it to come in, can you get a second one?
You can dispute it with additional comps, but you can't just arbitrarily shop an appraisal. So you can try to get the value up by saying, hey, I have other comps that I want to, supply, and then we go back and do that.
Also with a question that I get a lot is the contracts. We only need one contract. We don't have to have 3 different contracts from 3 different. So if it's a roof, we don't need 3 different contractors. Estimates, thank you, from 3 different contractors to do the roof. Okay, we just need the one that the borrower decided on. That's it. What else? Yes.
This says that you can use it as refinancing or to purchase, but it says refinancing an existing mortgage. What if you own the property free and clear?
You can do that as well.
Okay,
Yep, you can do that as well.
okay.
Having dealt with contractors, what happens when you get to the 12 months and it's not done?
We,
Some nasty letters.
Strong arm them.
yeah, I mean, there's not like we do something. We're just very firm with them.
Like the township and building permits, they just let them go.
Yeah.
The approval process time for something like this, how long does it take to close?
Normal, standard, conventional closing time. If there's any holdup, it's going to be your borrower deciding on a contractor and the contractor getting the plans and specs so we can order the appraisal.
Do you need the contractor before you close?
Yes, because we can't order the appraisal without.
Like the roofers, can you have 3 or 4 bids on the roof and then close and choose one afterwards?
Choose one. Because the appraisal is going to be based on the plans and specs from that particular contractor.
And the loan is based on those bids.
Yes.
So this can be for a refinance as well.
Yes.
Just going to that 12-month completion allowed, 203K is only 6 months. But as a former builder and remodeler, if remodeling isn't done in 4, it's time to put a fire under somebody.
But we don't, like.
There's something wrong.
We don't do anything. We just strong arm, we push them, we send them, we talk to, that's about all we can do. Yes.
What kind of interest rates are we talking?
Same conventional rates.
Okay.
Yep. There's nothing different. Good.
You said you can't do it on like existing projects that are going on. So if somebody tore a house down to the studs because they were planning on doing a renovation and then they did run out of money, this can't apply to any of that kind of stuff.
No, because we don't want the risk of whatever that contractor did before or whatever. It has to be fresh projects.
But can it be reassessed and reevaluated, no? Okay.
No.
What if someone bought a foreclosure and the kitchen was completely torn out?
Foreclosure is completely different.
Okay.
So we know it's a foreclosed home, and we use this on foreclosed homes a lot, and that does happen. So like I said, there's missing pipes, there's missing cabinets. You guys know what foreclosed homes, some of them can look like. So that's different than somebody who just went in and started to do something and then they quit.
What about a fire damaged home?
Yeah, we can do fire damage. Yeah. What else? Yes.
4 simple questions, Marcy.
Okay.
Appliances, did I miss those or are those not included?
I did not talk about those. Appliances can be included, yes, if they're included in the contracts.
Okay. Have you or do you do any meth mitigation projects?
I've never had that question.
Mold, I would think.
Yeah. She said it would be like the same as mold. I would think with this project,
It's different.
you know what, if you have one or if you come across one,
They're coming.
okay. Let me make myself a note and I'll reach out and ask.
What do you mean by certified contractor?
Hold on one second. Let me write this one down. What did you call that meth what?
Mitigation.
Mitigation. Okay. What did I mean by registered, licensed, or certified contractor?
That term, what does that mean?
Well, in our different states, some are registered, some are licensed, some are certified. So whatever your state or your counties require, that's what we would go by.
I see, okay. Would you go over, and I missed this, the 10% contribution factor on one of the examples? Because I didn't catch all that, and that's, okay, that's evidently by the borrower, correct? So explain that on maybe one of the examples, you had 150 or they brought 150 and it was a $100,000 sale price and they had 95% deal was 142.5, that one, or?
Yeah, so the renovation was 42,500. He's asking about a little bit more about the 10% contingency reserve, am I right? So on that one, on that example where the renovation amount was 42,500, they would also need to finance or bring to closing $4,250 to go into the escrow account with that 42,500, so that if there's any unforeseen costs that come up during that renovation, there's money there that we can pull from. So sometimes, like I was actually when I was watching the Property Brothers this weekend, there was no insulation when they were tearing down the walls, so they can use it for insulation. Or if they come across mold, we can use it for that, like unforeseen things like that.
Okay, and they bring it, you said on a cash basis or a check basis, is that the same?
To closing,
Yeah, okay.
Or they finance it in either way.
Oh, that's the other thing, they could finance it.
finance
if they
it.
qualify for it.
Yep.
Can that be over and above the amount they can finance for the renovation?
No,
So
it's
that
just
has to be included.
Yeah, it has to be included in what's allowed.
So that would kind of, if they financed it, it would cut down how much they actually have.
It would, but they could still use it.
Right,
So,
yeah.
So, yeah. Any other questions? What else? Yes.
Can the borrower use different contractors, let's suppose for the furnace, for the electrical, or it has to be one general contractor that he can handle the whole project?
If it's only 3 contracts, so if they're only doing 3 different jobs, they can use 3 different contractors.
Okay.
But if there's a 4th item that they're going to add, so say they're doing the roof, the flooring, the electric, now they want to do plumbing too, now they have to get a general contractor at that point.
Okay.
So as long as it's 3 or less, they can use 3 different contractors. Okay?
So, say there's a bad drain field on a house, they could do this kind of thing with that?
Yep.
Do septic and drain field?
Yep, septic and drain, wells, any of that type of thing, we've used it on before too. Yes.
How would you include this in your purchase process to protect your buyers? Would you put in your purchase price and then put language in there that it had to appraise for the as completed value? Otherwise, what if they buy the house and then the as appraised value doesn't come back at what they expected it to, then now they're stuck with the house?
I would say that would be, again, you're going to want to do some research based upon the plans and the specs that they come back with, just to kind of see, okay, do you think this is reasonable? And then if you want to put some verbiage in there so that it gives them an out, is what you're talking about. Yes.
That's how it had it written before. It had a value there that they thought it should come in at least with the improvements.
Any other questions?
Are buyer closing costs affected by this?
No, but I'm glad you said that because that leads me into my next thing I was just going to talk about. I don't know how many of you have heard, but Huntington is doing a promotion for any property, and it can be any product, so it doesn't have to be the HomeStyle Renovation. Any property in a low to moderate income tract, we are waiving lender closing costs. Big. So for those of you, if you're not sure, like where is a low to moderate income tract, whatever the case might be, your loan officers can absolutely help you with that. We have tools and resources that they can show you how to figure it out. They can do it for you. Tom Bador actually has flyers. Go ahead, Tom.
I do have a flyer out here if you guys are interested in. It tells a little bit about what we're doing exactly with waiving the closing costs. I also have a handout that shows how you can look up if a house is in an LMIT area or not. So you can there's a step-by-step, a little link you click on, and you go through and you can look at that house before your buyer or your seller lists that home, and you can know if it qualifies for a no closing cost loan. So those are out there if you need it. Call me if you have any questions.
Can you include such items as scraping paint because it's peeling paint and so on? Okay.
So the waiving closing cost thing, is that for refinancing also or just?
Yes.
Okay.
Purchase and refis.
Yes.
Okay.
And like I said, that can be used for any product and any borrower. It doesn't have to be a low to moderate income borrower. We have properties that are in low to moderate income tracts. We call them LMITs that are $500,000, $1 million condos. You know, they're all over. So when you think low to moderate income tract, people want to automatically think the $50,000 properties, and it's so not. So I would advise you to even just try it a few times. Get with Tom, and he can give you, it's 4 steps. So you can kind of see what we're talking about, because it's a great tool for you guys to use for your borrowers who might need a little bit of extra oomph. Yeah, to get into a home. So we're going to be waiving those closing costs for them. Don't leave yet. I have a survey. If you would please fill that out for me. If there are no other questions. Are there any other questions?
How long is that program going to go for, the waiving?
We don't have an end date yet.
Good.
Yeah. Anything else? Yes.
What closing costs are being waived in that situation?
A lot.
Title, credit report, all of those.
All of our fees,
Appraisal?
underwriting, processing, doc prep. I mean, there's like a lot. It could be thousands of dollars for your borrower.
Does that mean you have to close with a certain title company?
Nope.
If you're waiving the title fee?
Nope. There's not a lot of restrictions around it, except that it has to be in a low to moderate income tract.
What about investors?
Yep.
Same thing.
It really, as long as it's a low to moderate income tract, we're waiving costs. Yes.
Well, how can you do that? Because you need to like pay an appraiser and a title company, don't you?
Huntington's paying them.
We're not increasing the rate or anything.
I was just going to ask
not
that.
increasing the rate.
Yeah,
We're
not
not
doing
doing
that.
We're not doing that. We are
No
actually.
adjustments to the rate. There's nothing different.
So-
It's our commitment to our community.
They make plenty on interest.
So we are very passionate about Huntington. If you're familiar with Huntington, you will know our focus and our passion is our communities. And this is just one more thing we want to do to help stimulate those low to moderate income tract communities. So that is why we're doing what we're doing.
When did that product go live, Marcy?
That promo, the promotion, probably about a month ago. Yeah. Any other questions for me on anything?
One of the things, we've been actually fair to everybody, so if say a borrower comes in, we put a loan in, and we miss that it's an LMIT, we go back and we actually tell them that their closing costs are gonna be free. So everybody, it's not that they come in and just ask for the promotion, we're making sure that it's fair for everybody.
We're watching. So every loan that's coming in, our loan officer is doing the check. Our processor then is doing the check. So we don't want to miss anybody. It's not your borrower having to remember to come to us and say, oh yeah, I want this promo. We're actually watching to benefit them on the backside.
So go ahead and get started here. My name is Eric Dusenberry. I'm from MSHDA. Move this up just a tad. We're going to be going over some of the MSHDA programs today, go over some information on the programs. You know, when you hear some of those talks on the HomeStyle Renovation Plus and MSHDA, it really just kind of emphasizes how difficult many times your job is, right? Trying to understand how many programs are out there, how they might benefit your consumers, how they can bring more value to your consumers. That's what you're all trying to do to set yourself apart in the real estate world. It's a big job. And the programs, believe me, they're out there. There's a ton of programs out there that have a lot of value to people, can really create a lot of sales for you. You know, as we go through the information on MSHDA, you know, there's going to be some things out there that probably spark your curiosity. Just like the what do you guys call it? The low income census tract?
Low to
waiving the
moderate
closing
income.
costs?
Low to moderate income tract.
You know, those things are phenomenal. And you'll hear some things here, too, that are going to be very interesting to you. And when you start talking about layering programs together to create value for consumers, it again, that's a big part of how you set yourself apart. And that's, in the realtor world, that's one of the biggest obstacles you have to overcome in setting yourself apart. So I'll highlight some of those things today. My background, a lot of it is in sales. I've been in the mortgage business for over 25 years, product development, sales, management, product development. So I've seen all aspects of lending and have been in the real estate business for quite a long time. MSHDA's got a lot of different divisions. We do a lot of different things. We're going to be strictly talking about the home ownership division today. Huntington is a great partner of MSHDA. Again, the difficulty that you guys have in implementing the programs that are out there for your consumers, you really have to set some time aside to talk to the lenders on how to implement the programs. How do we convey this information to your consumers? Okay? That's a big part of what you need to do when it comes to implementing these things. It's great to kind of know about them, but if you don't know how to use them, they're not going to do any good for you. So take some time to talk to the people that you need to see how you can use the programs. And again, with our programs, Huntington use them. They do a very good job with that. So make that part of your implementation plan if you like what you hear today so that things get done. It's going to be very busy very soon, okay? So, you don't have a lot of time. It's great to do these trainings in the middle of winter. Things are slower. You have time to do some of those things. So, the window to kind of see how these things might play into developing your business for the upcoming year, the time is now. So don't wait too long. Again, the home ownership division is where I'm from. We put the programs out there for our lenders to use. We function as an investor, okay? So part of what I talk about to different groups, in trying to derive value for your consumers, in setting yourself apart, aligning yourself with agencies that have similar interests, aligning yourself with lenders that have similar interests, and picking the programs that best benefit you and your consumers is something that's pretty important, okay? We're a housing finance agency. Each state throughout the country has a housing finance agency that wants a strong and vibrant housing market, okay? We want to stimulate home buying to make that happen, okay? We put down payment assistance out there for people who don't have money for down payment. We have home buyer education courses and counseling agencies throughout the state to help consumers get ready to buy houses, okay? And we want to keep people in their houses through our Step Forward Michigan program. Now, I'm going to go over these programs. There's no test after my presentation. Okay? The biggest thing you can take away from a talk like this, again, how do I implement it? How do I use it to my benefit, right? There's a ton of information in the folder. We're going to go over a lot of information. I'm going to do my best to get you out at one. What you need to know and how to use the programs, the lenders are the ones that need to know where the low-income census tracts are, okay? The lenders need to know about federal tax credits. The lenders need to know about down payment assistance. The more people that qualify for those programs, and the more people that get benefits from those programs, you look a lot better by using lenders that offer those programs. So keep that in mind. Now, some of these things are on the fringes of real estate, okay? But I'm going to talk about how the programs work, how they might benefit people in your community, because those people that derive benefits with programs that you know about, if they are getting a benefit, those people could be your referral sources, okay? So when I talk about these programs, it doesn't have anything to do with your next sale, but it helps people in the communities in which you live and work. And I'll show you how some of those things can maybe help develop a referral base for it. Now, last year, we did about 1,200 purchases. We did about 1,200 down payment assistance loans. Now, in the non-RD areas, RD is USDA. That's a great program in RD areas. In urban areas where you can't do RD, down payment assistance is hugely important, okay? Now, I'm going to be throwing a lot of jargon at you. If you don't know what it is, let me know. But USDA and RD, it's a great program. It goes 100% financing. When I look at down payment assistance loans, people that take those wouldn't be able to buy a house otherwise, okay? So just that program created about 1,200 purchases last year. We issued $30 million in mortgage credit certificates, and I'll get to that in a minute. We responded to over almost 200,000 phone calls for foreclosure prevention. We awarded $63 million to homeowners to help them stay in their houses. Okay? And I'll go over those programs with you. We had a program in 2013 where we're just giving $3,000 away, homebuyer assistance grants. Okay? We did 5,000 of those in 3 months. 5,000 purchase transactions in 3 months because we're giving $3,000 away. Okay? Some of our programs in here can dwarf $3,000, okay, in the benefit derived by the consumer, okay? And I'll talk about that in specifics. We're also giving away some free money in HARP refis, which is kind of, again, ancillary. But any lenders out there that are doing HARP refis, we have free money. We give $500 away for refinances. Now, there's a lot of misconceptions out there with MSHDA that I like to address. Some people think it takes too long, it's too complicated to do MSHDA. We maintain a list of experienced lenders that do MSHDA well. We only add 2 days to a process, the total process. Our turn time on underwriting is 48 hours. We've been at that level for over 5 years. So we don't add any additional time other than 2 days, 48 hours. Some of the other misconceptions out there with MSHDA is that we run out of money. Okay? We don't. Way back when, we sell bonds to finance mortgages, and when that funding for that bond gets used up, we have to switch it to another bond with electronic locking and things like that. We don't run out of money. We just transfer it. So you could have been at the closing table 15 years ago, and it may have been delayed because we have to switch bond series. But that's another misconception out there, that we run out of money. We do not. Now, as I said before, most of my experience has been in sales. Typically with MSHDA, you need to be a first-time home buyer, okay? But we have targeted areas throughout the state where we waive that first-time home buyer requirement, okay? Now, when we talk about the requirements that we have, they're pretty simple. You want to make sure you're using an experienced lender, though, too. Let me say a little warning. With our programs, okay, do a little due diligence when you talk to your lenders on how many MSHDAs they do, how many HomeStyle renovations they do. It's a wise thing for you to talk to your lenders, meet with them, discuss with them how programs like this can develop your business. But make sure they're trained and they know what they're doing. So make sure you're using the Huntington lenders here in the room. They know what they're doing and they do a good job. The targeted areas I mentioned, when we waive our first-time homebuyer requirement, when I get to the programs and products, we'll talk a little bit about marketing potential in our targeted areas. We want to stimulate home buying there. Okay? Apparently, there's another program over here where they're waiving closing costs in low-income census tract areas. I'm kind of guessing. I haven't looked it up yet, but I'm guessing some of our targeted areas might be in there.
Yeah, I have a customer who's doing DPA with waiving the closing costs.
Okay.
So,
So that leads me to some questions that we'll get to a little bit later. But if you can layer on some of these programs and benefits to consumers, it's kind of a neat thing. We have sales price limits too. One of the misconceptions out there is our sale price limits are too low. You don't want to limit the loan sizes when you're looking at MSHDA. Our sales price limits go up to about $224. Okay. So if the average of 186 is kind of where we are in this area from Marcy's slide, that's under 224. We do have income limits that come into play, but it's more middle income. Okay. I think we have some slides in here that go over the income, and we'll see what it is. But it can be 60, 70, 80, 90,000, and they have to be under those income limits. We do have an asset limit for down payment assistance as well, and we'll get to that.
Eric?
Yeah.
Just a quick question for we can put it under the jargon. How do you guys define first-time home buyer?
3 years.
Right.
Right. So if they haven't owned a home in 3 years, if they owned one 4 years ago, they're a first-time home buyer to us.
Exactly. It grew back.
Yeah. Good question. Again, when we sell bonds, we typically set rates. We don't move them too often. You could do a 30-year fix with MSHDA without down payment assistance at 3 1/4. With down payment assistance, it's 3 3/4. So it's a little bit higher than market on that DPA or down payment assistance. I mentioned the income limits and the sales price limits, 224.5. It has to be below that. The income limits depend on where they're buying the house. And I think I have a slide in here a little bit later that goes over this counting. But you can see it's really more middle to upper middle income. You have to be under those income limits. As I mentioned, we have targeted areas throughout the state. These darker counties are fully targeted. Okay? In those targeted areas, we waive the first-time homebuyer requirement. I have to apologize for the amount of information that are in your folders. But on the right-hand side, there is an income limitations chart that I'll pull it out and show you what it looks like. Because it looks like this. It has income limits on one side and targeted areas on the other. The top of this chart, all these counties are targeted. Okay? And I like to point to these counties that are targeted because it really opens up the potential to market our programs. If I only have a couple of MSHDA overlays, a couple of MSHDA requirements, and I'm waiving the biggest one, a lot more people will qualify for it. Okay? And what that means to you is the potential sales impact in those areas, things like down payment assistance, is going to be more readily available. Okay? Our other programs will be more readily available too. So what I like to say, what are the surrounding counties to this one?
Ottawa, Barrie, Montcalm.
Okay, are those targeted areas?
Montcalm is.
Montcalm?
Barrie and Allegan both are.
Yes.
Okay.
Ionia.
So the surrounding counties, if those are fully targeted, and I'm waiving the first-time homebuyer requirement, when I get to our down payment assistance, I'll bring that up again because the marketing potential of our programs goes way up there. Okay. Oh, sorry. In Kent County here, Grand Rapids, Kent City, Kentwood, Spencer Township, and Wyoming are targeted. Okay, again, what we have there is higher income limits. Depends if they have 3 or more people in the household. But we have higher income limits, and we waive that first-time homebuyer requirement. So, in Grand Rapids, you could be a repeat buyer. This could be your 3rd or 4th home. You can get our programs, as long as you're under that income limit. If they're a non-targeted area, the income limits are a little bit lower. Not as many people will qualify for them. Okay? Again, you don't need to pick up the detail on this stuff. What you need to do is have a lender that knows it. Again, that's one of the most important things that you need to do with the programs that are out there. Make sure you have a qualified lender that's able to provide them to your consumers. Some of the buyer requirements for MSHDA, just think of kind of a vanilla loan. Okay? Principal residence, no investment properties, no second homes, no co-signers. All adults have to apply. That means if there's an adult living in the house, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Uncle Joe moved back in, they have to apply and be on the loan. Our lenders know that. It's a MSHDA overlay that's required. We don't make up these overlays. They're built into the legislation that created our authority to do what we do. So things like this, we can't change them. They're built into the law that created this.
Adult children?
Adult children, yes. Yep, that's problematic. So again, you need to be aware of it, have a lender that knows what they're doing. I'll get calls a lot of times from an inexperienced lender. They're not trained. They try to do a MSHDA. They're blowing up your deal, There's an adult child that's not going to school full time. Do they have to be on the loan? Yes, they do. So make sure you know you're dealing with someone who's been trained and they're an experienced lender with MSHDA. Collections and judgments have to be paid off if they're taking down payment assistance. Okay? We're giving them money for their down payment and closing costs. We want those to be paid off. Everything else follows industry guidelines. That's to say, FHA or HUD guidelines, we follow those. Yeah.
Question. Everyone in your household has to be on the loan. Does that mean they also have to qualify as far as income and expenses and their debt load, et cetera?
Yes. Unless they're going to school full-time, they have to be on that loan. Which again, that's just for our down payment assistance program. And I'll kind of explain that a little bit more in detail. Seller contributions are standard. That is, they follow agency guidelines. We'll follow FHA, VA, or RD. Our conventional loan right now, the seller contributions are all the same. You know, there's some neat things, with seller contributions coming down, as the real estate market improves, seller concessions are going down, right? So cash to close is going up. And many times, with down payment assistance, it gives you some flexibility in writing offers that are a bit more competitive. We'll get to that when we go over down payment assistance. As I mentioned before, the property types, single-family homes, they can be new constructions, as long as they're completed prior to close. Manufactured housing, you can do as long as they're affixed to a foundation built after 76 and never moved. Condos, they have to be approved. Okay, there's no magic there. If they're approved by the agencies, we can do them. Appraised values must support the purchase price when you're doing down payment assistance. We want the consumers to make sure that they're getting what they pay for, so that appraised value has to support the purchase price. Repair escrows you cannot do unless it's a weather-related item, which is pretty standard. Surveys are required if it's a new construction. We do have some acreage restrictions on our down payment assistance program. Typically, we're looking at 2 acres or less. We can go up to 5 acres with an exception. And as long as that lot can't have 2 houses built on it, you can go up to 5 acres. Now, our mortgage products are all pretty standard stuff, okay? That's to say we put FHA out there, same LTVs, there's nothing different there. You can also do RD loans or USDA. It's a great program in the rural areas where you can do 100% financing. It's a wonderful program. You can also do conventional with MSHDA, but the MI companies out there, their bond ratings are still a little bit low, so we don't have any conventional loans over 80%, I should say, due to the MI companies. We have to require that they have a sound bond rating before we will buy those mortgages. And you can do VA with MSHDA, although you cannot put a down payment assistance loan on top of the VA. Okay. Where things get a little bit interesting is when we start talking about down payment assistance. Okay. What MSHDA will do is give people up to $7,500 for their down payment, closing costs, and prepays. Okay. We'll go over an example of that. But we have up to that amount that we can give them. One of the misconceptions out there with MSHDA is that it's a gift or a grant. We give them this money and they just go on their way. We do put a lien on the property, but there's no payments that's due on it, and there's no interest. Okay, so it sits there as a lien until the property is paid off. Okay. You can use this on an FHA, and you can use this on a MSHDA RD loan. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
So, if you sell the property before the house is paid off, what happens to that lien?
It has to be paid off with the proceeds of the sale of the house.
Total?
Yes.
The total amount that was...
Total amount. Yeah.
Same on a refi?
On a refi, the amount needs to be rolled into the new loan. Right? So that's something that's out there. I mean, that is going to be a lien on the property. So that's a good question. Now, with down payment assistance, the minimum the borrower needs to contribute is 1%. Okay? Now, what we're talking about, let's say a $100,000 purchase. Okay? What you're looking at there with FHA, you need $3,500 down payment money, right? You also have your closing costs and prepayments that are going to be added to that, unless you're buying in a low-income census tract, with you guys, where the closing costs are waived. So, we give them up to $7,500. Okay? That means on that $100,000 purchase, $3,500 can come right from MSHDA, pay for the down payment. Okay? That leaves $4,500 that's available for their closing costs and prepaids. Okay? Many times on that $100,000 purchase, people are moving in for 1% of the purchase price. It's $1,000. Okay? That's less than your first month's rent and security deposit, those people considering renting. So it's a pretty valuable tool for those people that have very little money to close on a house. Down payment assistance is a valuable thing to them. It allows them to purchase. You know, many times you have to think about when you're dealing with your referral sources, the amount of value that you give those people by the programs that you are able to offer really, to a large degree, dictates how many referrals you're going to be getting for those people. Okay? That's to say, if you're able to help someone move into a house with down payment assistance, these people otherwise wouldn't be able to buy. Okay? Those people, many times, are going to be your best referral sources. They have family, they have parents, they have aunts, they have uncles, they have coworkers. Okay? They couldn't move in without this program. So it's very valuable for those people who have very little money. Okay? As I said before, we did over 1,200 purchases last year on this. In the targeted areas, you can be a repeat buyer with negative equity and still get down payment assistance. Okay? These are pretty valuable ideas when you're looking at programs that are able to get people into houses. And really, the challenge for you guys, it's not that the programs aren't there. The challenge is, how are you going to use them, right? So part of your marketing strategy has to be to sit down with lenders that can offer the programs, develop a strategy so you can get more people to look at programs that are they're already set up, ready to help them to buy. Now, we do have an asset restriction. If people are taking down payment assistance, we have an asset limit of $7,500. Okay? So they have to have less than that amount of money outside their 401ks, IRAs, retirement accounts. If people got a bunch of money in the bank, we're not going to give them the money for down payment. That's what it boils down to. Okay? Our experienced lenders know if they have $8,500 or $9,000 in the bank, it doesn't mean that the deal is dead. People can pay down debts, okay, as long as it's documented. A new VOD or bank statement is pulled. And you can do that. What that means to me from a sales perspective, though, is they have $7,500 in the bank, and MSHDA is going to give them $7,500. What does that do potentially to their purchasing ability? Okay. If we were looking at someone with no money, okay, we're going to give them $7,500. They might qualify for an $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 house. Depends on the seller concessions. If they have money in the bank, up to $7,500, you know, you're taking them from an $80,000 or $90,000 purchase and probably moving them up to a $150,000. Okay? It also gives you the ability to upsell if they have some of their own money in the bank and you're still doing maximum financing. So there's another benefit to have down payment assistance in that you might be able to take someone, again, and move them up. That's maybe a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom, different neighborhood, whatever. But it gives you flexibility. Also, for those people that have very little money, if there's down payment assistance money available, you may not have to ask for all those seller concessions. Okay? Thereby creating more competitive offer. Many times we see our MSHDA DPAs getting accepted because you don't have to ask for all the seller concessions. Yeah.
Backing up just a little to the 1%. If, say, let's use your $100,000 home. I like that number. Yes. Because then they have to have 1,000 in. If they were to, say, have home inspections for $400, $100 for termite, and pay $500 in advance for a year's homeowner's insurance, are they in now?
Yeah, as long as they can use POCs towards their 1%.
Okay.
Okay. Not only that, if they're doing MSHDA DPA, we have a home buyer inspection funds program where we'll give them up to $750 free money for home inspections. I'll get to that later. But since you brought up the inspections, again, if they're doing down payment assistance, we can give them money up to $750 for home inspections. Free. Now we're doing a little bit more direct marketing these days. We had a TV campaign and a radio campaign. Those leads trickle down to our lenders. That's another good reason to affiliate yourself with MSHDA lenders, because those leads trickle down to them. We have a brand new program. It's not necessarily new anymore, but it's fairly new, where we can do down payment assistance for repeat buyers statewide, okay, regardless of whether it's a targeted area or not. So for those repeat buyers that may not have equity in their home, okay, we can give them up to 4% or $7,500, whichever is less for their down payment and closing costs. This program has fewer MSHDA overlays, so the adult children in the household, you can drop them from this loan. Okay? If one of the borrowers has collections or judgments, you can drop them from the loan. So again, we have a new program out for repeat buyers statewide. It doesn't have to be in a targeted area. That allows people to have access to down payment assistance. We also have programs that are targeted. We call it select cities, where we have lower rates in these areas. Okay? Grand Rapids. We've given blight money to these cities to reduce blight. To kind of augment that, we have this program where we have lower than market rates for consumers who might be purchasing in those areas. So again, we have the ability to target certain programs to help specific areas. And again, the rates 3 1/8 and 3 5/8 with DPA. Does anybody in the room besides the lenders know what a mortgage credit certificate is? One person? Does anybody, show of hands, know what a federal tax credit is? More people? Federal tax credits are the single biggest incentive for consumers many times when they're looking to buy a house. Hope everybody remembers the federal tax credit from 2008. Okay, it was $8,500, $8,000 for first-time home buyers buying a house. People were coming out of the woodwork to buy a house. Contracts were being written right and left. Lenders couldn't keep up with the closings. Congress had to re-up the program because it was so popular. It was in the middle of the financial crisis, and people were flocking to buy houses because they were going to get $8,000 towards the federal tax credit.
Do you have this information somewhere in this handout?
Yes. On the right-hand side, pull out the form that says MCC. It'll be on the right-hand side. And it looks like, before I do, hold it up. Looks like this. It's on the right-hand side. So it's a federal tax credit, okay? HFAs, housing finance agencies like MSHDA, have the authority to create programs to stimulate home buying. When I told you we gave $3,000 away and we did 5,000 purchase transactions in 3 months, this could be a lot bigger than that. And I don't think many of you knew about it. Okay? When you're talking about selling real estate, okay, when you're talking about aligning yourself with agencies that have the ability, the money to issue federal tax credits for consumers as an incentive to buy, it's hugely important that you know about the program's existence. This program is extremely easy to use for our lenders. It can be put on any loan that's not MSHDA, DPA. Can't be put on FHA 203K. Okay? So that means it can be put on 95% of the mortgages out there, 90%. It's a huge number. When I get excited about the fact that we have targeted areas throughout the state, we looked at the targeted areas. Okay? We also looked at the targeted areas within Kent County. Grand Rapids was on it. Go back to that slide if you want, or you can look at this list. And I have the ability to give a federal tax credit that adds up to a big chunk of money, and I waive the first-time home buyer requirement. The only thing that's left is the income limitations. Okay? The income limits from the slide before was $70,000 and $80,000. That means people under that amount could get 20% of their interest back, their annual mortgage interest. So let's use a number on that. If your annual mortgage interest is 10 grand, when you do your taxes, your annual mortgage interest is usually a pretty big number, right? majority of your monthly payment is interest. If your interest is 10 grand, MSHDA's going to give them a federal tax credit for 20% of that number, or $2,000, okay, for the first year. For the remaining life of that loan, we're going to continue to give them a federal tax credit for 20% of that number. So over a 10, 15-year period, we're talking $10,000, $15,000 where we're going to be able to give them a federal tax credit year in and year out if they take this program, okay? We know federal tax credits are designed to stimulate home buying. I think 1.6 million people bought with that last federal tax credit that we had in 08, 09. This can far exceed the $8,000 that was on that program. And yet, many people don't know about it.
Vern?
Yeah.
I've talked to people who mistakenly believe that it's a tax deduction.
It's not
It's
tax
a dollar
deduction,
for dollar
yeah.
credit.
It's a dollar for dollar credit. That's to say a tax deduction, when you get a deduction from your income, okay, that, let's say you make $100,000 and you get a deduction for $2,000, that means $98,000 is what you base your federal tax credit on. You're just reducing your income that you figure your tax out on. This is a dollar for dollar benefit. Okay. As I mentioned, there are very few limitations on this program. Okay. To give you an example, Grand Rapids, it's a targeted area. We waived the first-time home buyer requirement. Okay. Someone's buying their fifth home. They have $100,000 in the bank. They're putting 80% down. They're putting 50% down. It doesn't matter. In that situation, we're still going to be able to give them an MCC as long as they're under our income limits. Okay? And again, we saw that it was in the 70s and 80s. So a lot of people will qualify for it. In those targeted areas surrounding Kent County, if I have a fully targeted county and I'm able to give people 20% off their mortgage interest, it's a pretty big incentive to buy. Okay? So keep that in mind. The marketing potential goes way up. Again, I would be very interested to know how our targeted areas overlay with your low-income census tract. Because if you could waive your closing costs and give them 20% off their interest, you're starting to really add a few benefits to your potential consumers. And again, the more benefits that you're able to convey to your consumers through your lenders, again, is going to, you can more confidently ask for referrals for them. There's a fee right now in this program of 1 point. That's made back in 11 months. We do have an acreage restriction of 2 acres. Okay? But the program is very beneficial. On listings, if your listings are in a targeted area and the house value selling for under $224,500, the property will qualify for a federal tax credit. So there's certain areas in the state of Michigan where people are actively promoting that on the listing agreements. If the property is selling for less than $224,500, the property qualifies for a federal tax credit. You just got to get a consumer that qualifies as well. But it generates interest. This is just another example of a smaller loan amount. If your interest is $5,000 for the year, the federal tax credit would be $1,000, but again, it goes year in and year out for the life of the loan. You still get to continue to deduct 80% of your interest when you do your taxes. Okay? A lot of people will adjust their W-4s, your withholding tax. Your W-4s, when you go to your employer and sign up for a new employer, you have to set your W-4, which sets your federal income taxes, right? A lot of people adjust their W-4s right away when they close on an MCC. What happens then? They can reduce their federal withholding. Their net income might be $350 a week. When they do this, their net income might go up to $400 a week. You can give them an immediate impact with this program. Okay. Recapture tax is pretty boring stuff, and I'm not going to go over it too much. But recapture tax exists when you take A government subsidized program, whether it's rates, whether it's MCC, whether it's RD Direct, if you take an income limited program at a reduced rate or some other benefit that's associated with it, the IRS has a rule in there where recapture tax may apply. What would happen is, and it hardly ever happens with MSHDA, but if your income goes way up, again, we income limit our loans, right? Your income goes way up and the value of the house goes way up, you might get hit with recapture tax. Hardly ever happens. And we have a reimbursement program that fully reimburses borrowers dollar for dollar if they ever get hit with recapture tax. Okay? We can't get around the IRS rules with our programs, but because it had a negative connotation to it, people don't like recapture taxes. Anybody doesn't like taxes. We have a reimbursement program. If it ever happened, we'd fully pay people back. Now, I mentioned a little bit before about programs that are on the side of real estate sales, okay, but they can still derive value and benefit for consumers. Again, you know, we want to make sure that Michigan residents have tools available to them if they're experiencing difficulty, or they don't have money for down payment. We want to see that they get the help that they need to avoid problems. Okay, our counseling program, we have counselors statewide. There's a little brochure in here that goes over our counseling agencies. There's four brochures in here. And again, all you need to know is the big picture items from these programs. Okay, you don't have to get down in the nitty gritty. You don't have to know what the income limits are for Kent County. You don't need to know how to calculate down payment assistance. You don't need to know who can qualify for a federal tax credit. What you need to know is the fact that they exist and have an avenue and a plan to implement the program so that your consumers can get programs. Okay? So keep that in mind. You don't need to know the details. But the counseling agencies that we have, we pay for most of their services. It's free. Okay? I mentioned the Homebuyer Inspection Funds program. There is a flyer in here, I think on the right-hand side at the bottom. We can give people $750 for home inspections. Okay? They can go for well and septic. They can go for the home inspection. They can go for radon. Free money for people. Again, that's on down payment assistance loan. It goes to our counseling agencies if you don't know about it. It's easy to use. Homebuyer education is required for down payment assistance. But look at these services that they offer. Okay? Again, when you're dealing with potential referral sources from your community, from the places where you work, where you go to church, the people that you know, these are free services that you get questions like lenders do all the time. What do I do if? I have a student loan that's in default. What do I do? I don't know. You can send them to people who know. It's free. Again, these things are creating value for those people. You don't have to know anything about it. They do financial management and budget counseling. Pre-purchase home inspection funds, I told you about that. Pre-purchase individual counseling, get them ready to buy a house. Free. Okay? I know about these programs because I take an interest in my business. I know that these help people. When you're ready to buy your house, call me up. If you know anybody who's looking to buy, please let them know. You know, again, these programs are out there, and they're free to consumers. This is a pretty big program for us to help stabilize communities. Okay, the foreclosure crisis that's been going on is bigger in certain areas. But when I said at the beginning, when we gave over $60 million out this last year, this is the program. It's trying to keep people in their houses and stop foreclosure. The tax base is shrinking. Market values have been dropping. It's clear that if we can keep people in houses as opposed to having them boarded up, going through foreclosure, and we're giving them money for blight remediation, it's easier to keep people in their house many times. We'll get money from the federal government from time to time. You see that number on the bottom? It's just under $500 million that we got. And we're making huge strides at giving the money away. Okay? There's a website and phone number. It's in the folders. Again, it's the vanilla stuff that's out there. We're not doing investment properties, second homes. People need to qualify in some way, shape, or form. Basically, it's based on need and on a hardship. Okay? So they're out of work, or they've had some type of problem, a hardship that has put them in this situation. This money is forgivable. That's to say, if we give them $20,000 over a 5-year period, the balance is forgiven 20% per year. So over 5 years, it'll be gone. They stay in the house. There's no interest on it. There's no payments on it. Okay? But we do put a lien on the property. Okay? Let's say someone took it out and sold the house next year. They would owe 80% of the total amount we gave them. And there is a lien on the property, so they'd have to pay it off. But again, it's forgiven over a period of time, which is 5 years. Let's get a look at these numbers. If someone is unemployed, we can give them up to $30,000 to subsidize their mortgage payment for up to a year. We can give them up to $1,000 a month for half the mortgage payment. Okay? If people are underemployed, we can also help them out. We can take care of delinquent balances with this program. So if they're $3,000 behind, the husband's unemployed, they're having trouble making their mortgage payments, their savings is exhausted, and they find out about a program like this through someone like you. When I said before that the value that the programs bring to the consumers dictates how good the referral source will be for you, if you're able to help a family stay in their house with free money, in essence, they can be a huge referral source for you. Now, we want the programs used. It just so happens that it's a tremendous value to consumers who might need it. Okay? It's designed and developed to stop foreclosures, to keep people in houses, but it has a huge potential to help people. Okay? It kind of goes over here that we can pay half the mortgage payment up to $1,000 per month. We can take care of the delinquent balance that may be due on a property.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I see condo association fees as part of that.
I think they can. I think they can. Now, I have to qualify that. We just recently dropped a program because the funding got exhausted. I know that program paid for the association fees. I would have to check on this.
Because then my question would be if the delinquent fees would be paid or going forward they pay them.
I don't know. That's a good and technical question. If you want to send an email to Nancy, her name's on that folder. I'm substituting today for her.
Okay.
In case you don't know. But there's an email address in there. We could certainly get that question answered for you.
Okay, great.
Okay, so that's the unemployment mortgage subsidy program. We do have another program out there that is newer. It's called the modification plan. These are for people with negative equity. Okay? Again, people with negative equity in their properties. If someone has negative equity and the lender is able to make the payment more affordable, okay? That's to say the house is worth $100,000, they owe $125,000, okay? Their payment's $800 a month. If they qualify for the program and the lender is able to drop the payment down to anything below $800, to make it more affordable, they can stretch the term out, they can reduce the interest rate. Usually they just recast it and stretch the term out. But we can give them up to $30,000 to cure the negative equity position. Okay? Again, this is a fairly new program. True step forward, but again, it can have a huge impact for people in that situation. Okay? So keep that in mind. And if you're good at sales, you're already thinking about the people with negative equity out there. Let's get them paid up. Let's get their balance down and buy them a new house. Just remember that it's only forgiven 20% per year. So what that would give those people at least would be an option or potential to get rid of the negative equity, go to our counseling agencies to set up a plan to see that their credit's in order. So maybe in 2 years or 3 years with 20, 40, or 60% reduction in negative equity and some increase in the appraised value, they might be able to buy a house maybe with our next home loan program. What you have to do is try to develop a plan for those people so they can buy a house. But you can do it with some of these programs.
Is that modification plan like the other one where it was 5 years, forgivable? Okay.
Yep. Okay, I finished that, and I'm 3 minutes late. Any questions? No?
Just curiosity as a taxpayer in Michigan, what's the foreclosure rate on this stuff?
Well, the good news is we don't use any of your tax money for our programs. We're fully self-sustaining, and I don't know the foreclosure rate on that. Part of the counseling criteria that the counselors go through, the options are discussed, whether to buy or rent, or whether they're ready to buy or rent. Also with the risks and benefits of each. That's why we feel homebuyer education is a very good thing for people, especially those who are taking down payment assistance. Good question. Any other questions?
How many employees are with MSHDA?
300.
You term yourself as an investor, so each year you're moving ahead and your coffers are getting larger? Or you try to expend as much as you take in?
Well, I say we're an investor in the sense that lenders and agencies who put programs out there are an investor and provide programs and products for clients. Okay. Not an investor to make money.
At what point does MSHDA approve a transaction? Is after underwriting is done on the
Yeah,
lender?
the lenders will underwrite it, then we get a 48-hour review, compliance review of those programs.
Do you have any team there, Eric, that is looking at social media?
Okay, thank you very much. Make sure you did your sign-ins, and we'll get everything to you as needed. Thank you. Yeah.